So Pierre Poilievre decides to go on Joe Rogan. Finally, he started to be a politician and people's person. You know, he's instead of going on mainstream media or legacy media and talking shit against them, he's like, "Oh, you're the legacy media." You know, he finally decided to be a pollster the proper way. And he's like, "Well, I'll go to Joe Rogan because you know everybody else does it." Max went on it, and maybe I should go too. Reach out to the audience that actually matters. I don't know, Andre. Did it matter to you?
First off, I want to know that bullshit excuse that he gave. Is that even legitimate, saying that during campaign they can't even travel abroad? Because if it was, I would have figured that maybe that's a year ago excuse that he should have put on the map, because people like us...
So why can't he do it on Zoom?
Yeah, well, it's an excuse regardless. If he wanted to reach out and tap into his base or create a base for himself, like we saw that worked for Trump months prior during the American election, he was handed a play-by-play book that he refused to act on. To the opposite, we felt like until today, going on Rogan, that he was like anti-Rogan and didn't want to give that place a platform without realizing that he's the one that needs the platform. So yeah, I'm just a little twisted with his excuse.
He's a controlled opposition. He doesn't actually find it. He doesn't deny it. He actually, that's one thing he said on Rogan. I mean, we can talk shit on him all day long. Let's just watch what he says. You know that saying they say, don't, you know, when people tell you who they are, listen.
Listen.
Yeah.
But Trudeau was running the country.
Yeah,
I didn't feel like I felt like he was manipulating people with woke politics and ideology. And
by the way, okay, so you know what the mainstream opposition, like I listen to CJUAD here in Montreal, CJUAD. The talk show, English talk show radio, the only English talk show radio, and the only way they exist because of the donations from the Liberal government. There's no other way.
You mean your money and my money? I don't listen to that trash, but I'm stuck paying for it. Yeah, go on.
Exactly. So they were talking about I guess the new political agenda should we continue to fund organizations like this. I mean, they
were addressing this on.
They actually addressed it. It's like, you know, we need to have a good, legitimate.
Do we want to keep eating or no?
Exactly.
It's so whack that we allow other adults having this conversation without saying exactly that. The elephant in the room, like, oh, you guys like a paycheck? Is a paycheck nice? You know what I mean? Like.
And actually, they brought up Joe Rogan. It's like, well, Joe Rogan doesn't need any subsidies. He makes money. He has millions of followers of viewers. You know, like what like why can't you do the same thing? Well, you can't do the same thing because the subject is not the same.
I passed around a post that was going from, I think it was CTV. Guys saying that Joe Rogan's misinformation and the balls, the entitlement that these guys have. Like, this is the opposite of free market. This is why we say we're socialist in Canada, because Joe Rogan is self-made. We like self-made people, not nepotistic kids that are entitled to getting paid for doing a shitty job for decades. It's weird that these guys are on a platform not recognizing that if it wouldn't be for my money that I do not want to give to them, I'm coerced with the threat of violence for them to have a job. You know, like, it's weird that they don't acknowledge this.
Well, they're not just even like, they don't deny it, because I think to be a socialist, I saw this this morning. And I think one of the socialist requirements, and we're borderline communists in Canada, by the way.
Yeah, we're way past socialism. Now we're borderline communism as far as how much money we fund to.
Exactly. 64% of our GDP goes towards government.
That's socialism. That's why I don't say it lightly. I don't enjoy saying China, but the fact that, like, intellectually adults don't recognize the time that it is in our society right now, that we're really a foot into socialism and the other foot is creeping into communism, and their ignorance is what makes it all happen.
Well, here's my question to you. If you're aware of all those things, and, like, you know, I can clearly tell you're very passionate about the subject and it's hard for you to keep it down. Like, you know, like, they wouldn't know socialism or communism if it hit them in the face, and it hits them in the face every day, right? And by them, I mean they, them. I mean, like, you know.
It's the entitlement. It's weird. It's like, you want me to pay for your meal as well? Do you want to extort money out of me so I could pay for you at the restaurant every day? Like, how long do you date somebody like that? Or the entitlement of some of your friends? You keep them around, the ones that are just expecting you to pay, to the point where when you start questioning it, they start, like, you know, denouncing your right to not to have to pay for their way. It's the biggest mooches. Like,
well, let's not digress. Let's go back to Pierre Poilievre and Joe Rogan thing.
That it was just this weird slippery slope that people were falling down, where they're losing rights and you're losing your ability to express yourself. And
did C9 pass?
It's in the process of being passed. I don't know, and I don't think it's officially law. I told myself the day it was is the day that I stopped doing what I've been doing up until.
Do you
now.
leave Canada?
Well, I don't do dry snitching on myself. You know what I mean? And considering what these laws mean, and again, these
So C9, ladies and gentlemen, if you in the United States or anywhere else, you're listening to the show, C9 is the racist bill. It's to criminalize your feelings. If you have, it's a hate speech law.
Exactly.
So hate speech law, basically, and they try to ask him what's the definition of hate speech law.
The subjectivity of it is what makes it so pernicious.
And will the Canadians be arrested for posting things on socials? Yeah, well, if that's hate speech, what is hate speech?
Exactly. It's what we've been seeing in the EU and what they want to get more of the. In my perspective, it's how they want to build up the media landscape over the next couple of years. They want to have these laws in place so that after that, going after people just becomes systemic.
Okay, let's get back to this. I'm getting sidetracked again.
It just really disturbed me because I always felt that Canada was like one of the freest places and one of the most open-minded places.
When did we stop being free and open-minded, in your opinion?
I don't think we're ever free and open-minded. I think COVID just showed it to us. If we were, we would have held on to that. We're colonized. We didn't have a revolutionary war. It's the only country where I feel being half a Queb, to me, is like colonization is a good thing. Like it was a good thing. Like when the French people here tried to do the woke thing in the 90s, they were labeled separatists. The whole psychological operation run on them was like to make the word sovereignty a bad word somehow. And it actually worked in the psychological operation. And now we saw as a whole with COVID that we don't even know what free speech is. Like we clearly have no clue. People are begging for this. That's how we got to this point. It was easy to just have them trade in that little bit of safety or security at the expense of a freedom. They don't even know any of this. They don't even know what a constitution is, Canadians. So yeah, I think that, I think Joe Rogan is just being nice. And Joe Rogan's been obvious since the beginning, saying he doesn't even travel up here because he's disgusted by us. So if there was, don't be nice. Or what's that saying? Be kind, don't be nice. Like the nice guys, like Canadians are just nice. And then we saw what it looks like. Highest vaccination rate pretty much in the developed world.
Canadians are not nice. Who said Canadians are nice? Remember the whole elbows up thing, and we hate all Americans because why? Because they voted for Trump. That's a whole different story. Let's get back to the show.
And it just, I didn't understand how it could fall so quickly.
We still, we are a free country and we are a democracy. We have preserved.
And here's that, this is right there. Anything else that comes out of his mouth next is discredited instantly.
Well,
which part of us is democracy? Though he was there during the truckers' protest. The Emergency Act was illegal. He did not go outside protesting with the truckers.
He never said anything.
He never said anything.
The pollster.
Right. He never said anything after the fact. Like the Emergency Act, he should be screaming right now, we were not democracy for the past few years. And we are not right now because, the whole thing, how many people switched their allegiance that went from one side of the floor to another in the parliament?
In the past couple of weeks?
In the last couple of weeks.
Enough to give a majority?
Right, enough to give a majority. So what I'm saying is like those people were voted to represent a constituency.
That's the least democratic. Like he should just be on TV or on Rogan saying that this has transgressed in Canada and that Canada's been taken over. But instead, he still want to play the game. And he never said anything marginal during the whole pandemic. There's so many times for him to step in and say shit. There was a campaign and you had all the leaders, all of them together, all different parties saying the exact same message as if it's time to unite in Canada. Meanwhile, in the US, this was used on the binary to get people to vote one way or the other. How far is he from Trump 2016 saying that Ottawa is a cesspool, it's a swamp? That's what you and I want to hear at this point. This is the only reason I got into Trump's lingo is because of billionaires. I don't care who said it. He acknowledged that Washington, D.C., just like Ottawa, just like Quebec City, where parliaments are, they're swamps. And this guy, he's a creature Pierre Poilievre. He comes from there. He's never done anything else in his life.
He's just a politician. He's like...
he's a politician. He's the kind of guy opening in this Rogan interview that has to be like, I lived on a street where there was real people, there was policemen, there were firemen. It's like the guy saying, I'm not racist, I got black friends. If you're an actual hard worker and you worked for your living and you're not a career politician.
That's my things, I have black friends and my girlfriend's Asian.
Well, there you go. You definitely can't be a racist then. You know what I mean? But that's what he sounded like. Like, I come from a hardworking neighbor. Not me, but my neighbor was real hardworking. I know what they look like. I know how they eat. He's only done politics. And again, another clip that I got to see from this interview is how he got there. He was an athlete, and then he got injured, and then he's like, hey, let me get into politics. But meanwhile, that means you never did a 9 to 5. You don't know what it's like to do a 9 to 5. You don't know the reality of the economics of it, of the socioeconomics, to the point where he's going to be like, no, I swear to God, man, my neighbors worked real hard, real hard. My neighbors worked. And it's like, what a little rat, what a little nepotistic rat. That's why he'll never change the system. All these little rich kids that grew up with nepotism, that are in these positions of power, why would they change a system that has treated them so well? They have zero interest to do so, to the point that even now he's not even calling out stuff like these floor crossings, where it's like the biggest red flag that we're not in a democratic state right now.
Well, so now you agree with me saying that Mario Zelaya is just the legacy media for Pierre Poilievre?
Yeah, but again, I have to, yes, but no, like the guy's just moving the needle, but he's a mouthpiece, and he's also just trying to get on CTV. He just wants to be picked up by his old paradigm that I want to destroy. I'm happy that the free market, at least in the US, is making a mockery of Canada, because in 5 years, since the beginning of the pandemic, we still have CTV and CBC. Fuckers should be bankrupt. As a business model that I'm giving them billions of dollars, I have to watch my parents walk around this landscape still programmed on this drivel, this corporate drivel that shouldn't exist other than with my own money. I make the conscious decision of consuming other medias like Mario. So this is where I'm saying, like, I'd rather watch, I'm happy Mario's around. I'd rather send Mario shit to my parents. And the reason I would is because he's sending them CTV, CBC talking points. At least to them is like, oh, I recognize this. It doesn't sound so crazy, this guy. But in the US, the whole landscape is done. That's why Joe Rogan, whether you like him or not, he's self-made. Go fuck yourself, you haters that can't appreciate the hundreds of millions of dollars that he's done, the people that he puts on, the careers that he makes, the kingmaker that he is, and now he's turning that power towards Poilievre just because we need that here.
What would you say if I hate on Joe Rogan too?
You can't. You're just a hater. Like accept it. Accept that the guy has a huge following, that he's great at what he does. He's evolved.
But isn't it going back to the same thing? Like, you and me can clearly discuss. Like, you don't. Well, first of all, he did it for many, many years. He is also part of the Hollywood machine. He's been for many, many years.
Well, so you think he's controlled opposition?
1,000,000%.
Joe, no, I don't think. I think he's got fuck you money, and fuck you money.
Who's his boss? Who's his boss?
Himself.
No, he's not.
Spotify.
He worked with who on Spotify?
Are you going to get into the
Zionist shit? Yes. Like, he's not, he has a platform. It's the same thing. Okay. Mario Zelaya and Joe Rogan, they have a platform, like you said, of millions of listeners, right? Or Zelaya is not as big as Rogan, but still, he should be screaming out there about inequities of people all the time. He's taking up his.
He's already talking about the state of Israel and America first, and that's why these guys, they don't even know it, but they're platforming Nick Fuentes that they tried to kill in the crib at the beginning of his career, and they're all taking his talking point now. And it passes.
Nick Fuentes, I disappointed in him too. I believe he's also some sort of kind of opposition.
You're such a hater, man. I love these guys. I love that guy. What are you talking about?
They're entertaining to watch, all of them. I'm not hating on the entertainment value. No,
so that's it. It's what you consume, or like free market. If free market is sending, like, Joe Rogan could leave Spotify tomorrow and it would be at the loss of Spotify, and they know this. What was the first episode that they tried potentially maybe censoring him? It was at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah,
he just signed his contract for 100 million or something like that.
And then he went online and he's like, "I'm so sorry for talking shit on the COVID stuff." The fuck, shut up, Joe.
And then they made him look yellow on CNN.
Yeah, they made him look yellow on CNN. Exactly. So no, he apologized. He did his thing. One good thing about Joe Rogan, he did not put a dress on. But let's listen another like 5 minutes of Pierre Poilievre, because like after what he said, Canada is a liberal democracy or whatever he said, or free democracy. No, I lost all the interest in listening the rest of the show.
That's why people just don't know history. Like, you can't even claim to, like, they had their War of Independence, like educate Canadians like they're 2 years old. Like, there's a difference in culture there. Until we do that ourselves, ideally peacefully, ideally secessions out of Alberta. Look at Poilievre, like, that's the biggest thing. Like, he wants to keep Canada together instead of telling Alberta, listen, Alberta, if you're not happy with what Ottawa's going to keep doing to you guys, by all means, get the fuck out on your own accord, keep your money, and then let us, it's the opposite. He's aware that he needs to keep the Confederation going. Again, I'm Queb. We didn't sign that Constitution when we brought it back in 82. It's the opposite. And the premise of a civilized society is that you have to give the consent to be governed. Even the Frenchmen's here are too stupid to figure that out or demand it, or at least at the next run at it. When we, in Quebec now, city, there's a political talk of doing Quebecois constitution, which is that the answer or not? I don't know, but at least it's going to put people through the process of like, what is the social contract here? What do we agree upon? And that's what we thought we had before.
That's not a solution for Quebec. They all got vaccinated. They all pushed for that shit too. Okay, let's watch the rest of
that. You know, my leader, I had this funny moment when Joe Biden came to Parliament Hill, and I said, Mr. President, I'm Pierre Poilievre. I'm the leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition. And he said, loyal opposition? How can you be loyal and opposition at the same time?
Basically what I said earlier. When people tell you who they are, believe them.
Yeah, he's got systematic dick in his mouth. He loves the old paradigm. He doesn't want to see it crumble. He wants to keep the colonization. He respects Parliament. He respects the parliamentary system that from the monarchy and the history of Britain, because he's a little punk. Like,
well, that's what it is. He's a controlled opposition. Yeah.
What the hell are you talking about? And because you guys have a system based on a republic, whereas ours is the British system. And in our system, the opposition is an act of loyalty.
We do have an instrument in our system that we can vote as all the provinces and get rid of that, of the monarchy. We have that tool in that system. Why don't we do it?
The same reason why we still have
why do we still
governor general that is that could suspend Parliament.
Technically, that's the head of the government.
Yes, exactly. Well, that is the Queen's representative here, as far as being able to veto anything that the House of Commons that he's blowjobbing as if they're relevant and they supersede the special interest, the corporate interest, or the Senate that we have here. You know what I mean? This guy's for this system. We're anti this system. We want this to keep fading away, to work into something where we look like a republic, meaning individual rights predominate everything, not the notwithstanding clause in the preamble in the Constitution of Canada that says, you maybe have these rights, but when the going gets tough, mama government queen gets to come in here and tell you guys like, hey, you guys are too stupid. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the decisions for you. The U.S. Constitution on that same context is that it's especially when those situations happen, when you're contemplating if you should have rights or not, is when you need your rights guaranteed the most, and that they come from a higher being than a dumbass queen in a robe somewhere, you know?
But also, okay, so you want to bring up that conversation. What are the rights?
In the Canadian Constitution?
In general.
Rights are derived from, as you know, it's Christian culture. It's the 10 Commandments kind of codified in a charter that most 2-year-olds could agree to, as far as life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
But are the rights entitlement?
Well, this is the whole problem. America knows that they're given to us by God. In Canada, people think that they're given by government, and this is why they have no problems selling us back basic rights as privileges, and here we are paying registrations and licenses for things that are just fundamental rights and different contexts of how you want to apply that.
So rights are entitlements without duty, technically.
Well, then, we get into the whole force doctrine and the ability to assert your rights.
What I'm doing is I'm circling back to your conversation. Like, for the shift to happen in this country to be something else, we actually have to defend our rights.
Exactly. Like, if you can't assert them, rights are only as good as you can assert them. In the U.S., that's why the Second Amendment follows the First Amendment, because the First Amendment is the right to assembly, the free speech, and your right to your own consciousness. As we saw in Canada, and we still see now, as to why they're the highest brain damage vaccine demographic produced, is because you apparently don't have that bodily authority over yourself, and government could come in and make sure that you do the right thing for grandma, for government, or whoever they deem at that time for you to move on.
So going back to what Poilievre said, we are not free and we're not a democracy.
Exactly. But he's a creature.
But he just said and came out, we're still free and we're a democracy. So right away, anything else comes out of his mouth after
that, full of shit. He's a politician.
Exactly.
Like, unless he takes a playbook from.
If you are opposing
the rest, Steven?
Yeah, go ahead.
You're doing it out of loyalty to the good of the people. In our House of Commons, you have a half circle in your Congress. We have 2 sides in our Parliament. it's 2.5 sword lengths apart, because they used to.
It's the same thing that I said, the birds of the feather, right?
And look how it was weaponized against us with the NDP throughout the whole coalition that took place during the pandemic.
People in the country are supposed to tremble every time they walk in that place, because every mistake they made, every abuse of power, every corruption they might have done can be exposed and in front of all eyes.
And no accountability.
Well, that's why this guy's a retard, like talking as if like we're better than other countries or better places, like all this thing about corruption. And how about the fraud, waste, and abuse in Canada? I could pretty much bank my life on the fact that it's 10 times worse than in the US, because at least in the US they have mechanisms asking questions. They reward citizen journalism. Who's that guy that went to Minneapolis, not Minneapolis, that went to find the Somalian corruption and billions of dollars? Let's not pretend that we didn't know that it was Doge that probably let them know, like, yo, go look over there, there's 9 billion. That's obvious. These kids are driving around in Ferraris and they're rolling their enrollment with like 10 kids that don't even exist in different places claiming government funding. Canada is 10 times worse than that. And Poilievre doesn't even talk about that, trying to pass off that we're above that shit. We don't have corruption here. Québécois in their consciousness have Commission Charbonneau, where we saw to the degree of the corruption monetarily how much we're probably losing. And that was over a decade ago.
And Commission Charbonneau is the most corrupt institution to begin with. How much taxpayer money we pay them to investigate the corruption?
Well, the irony too, that the political class that forced that commission because of public opinion, the swing of public opinion is so powerful, is the same politicians that stopped the commission at exactly the good part, because the first 10-15% that were overpaying on these infrastructure projects was going to the construction firms, the engineering firms and whatnot. Then the second 10 to 12 to 15% was going to literally the Italian mafia, where they bugged their social club and you saw them putting brown envelopes in their socks and their pants. And then the commission was at the point with Lino Zambito and Ken Pereira explaining where the other 10-15% cash money was going on infrastructure projects in society that starts at hundreds of millions of dollars each, that was going to the political class. And at that time, I think it was Jean Charest that was in power. And what did he do? He nuked the fucking commission, and nothing ever came out of that. But we were just about to find out about 2012 that extra 10 to 15% was going to the political class. Can you imagine, since we didn't address that in 2012, where it must be today, considering they know that they're untouchable at this point? And that's why until Poilievre talks about that, or it says that his hometown of Ottawa, where he's always made his living coerced out of other people, is a cesspool. It's a swamp. That's all I want to hear from him.
Okay, so I think we're ready for this. I don't really want to listen to the rest of the Rogan stuff, honestly, because anything there is a puff piece. It's prepared. I'm sure the questions being prearranged, etc.
I want to think that it's not, but you're in all likelihood it might be. But
100%. Here's because, okay, again, I'm going back to conversation. If people tell you who they are, listen. And he's been telling us who he is.
But fuck him, he's a rat. But Rogan's been telling us that different people tried doing that, like Kamala Harris, as far as when they tried to negotiate to have her on. It just didn't work out. She literally gave him a list of do's and don'ts.
I'm not saying he did that, but he came prepared to do the speech. He wasn't on the whim. Like, he knew what he was going to say. It took him months to do it, 100%.
He wasn't going to say anything controversial, which is a shame, because he should have taken that platform and say, hey guys, I think Canada's fucked. I think there's a political elite class. That in the US, they're way past this now because of the Epstein files and whatnot. In Canada, Pierre's making it look like we don't have that. We're above that somehow.
If he wants people from the opposition, from the Liberal Party, to step over to his thing, he needs to do that thing. But he doesn't do it. He doesn't do it. So hold on. This is how you address the corruption. I think it's to answer your question, what happened since Charbonneau Commission and how terrible things gotten. Remember Chrystia Freeland? You know, she was still a deputy prime minister. No. She was a special envoy from Canada to Ukraine. She accepted the job of financial advisor right before she gave $2 billion to herself. And then a few weeks later, they gave another $2 billion. Right? So this is like, we talk Charbonneau Commission, millions of dollars of corruption. Now it's in billions. That's to answer your question. And this is where Poilievre, I think this is what people need to focus more than the Joe Rogan conversation.
Slava Ukraine! 4 years ago, a coward and a monster unleashed a hailstorm of bullets, missiles, hate, and cruelty. 4 years ago, he thought he would march through the Ukrainian homeland and take it over for himself, and that he'd have it swallowed by summer. But was he ever in for a big surprise? He did not count on the courage and determination, the eternal loyalty of the Ukrainian people. The barber who put down his scissors to pick up a rifle.
What a bitch.
The farmer who got off his tractor to get into
All approved talking points, and look at him, you know, like selling the war and how noble.
First
it is
of
to
all,
fight Russia.
let's set the thing. This is like December of last year, right? He's coming there with the to Ukraine. It's a pollster thing. He's coming there to Ukrainians.
It's safe to go now,
community.
Pierre. Go.
Yeah. He's wearing the Ukrainian flag. He's starting with the Ukrainian slogan, and he's actually misinforming. Like, you know, there was never Russia's intention to go and take over Ukraine. And they never said that. They never did that. There was
Fear mongering and just virtue signaling.
What I'm saying is he's lying out of his mouth to appeal to the people of Ukrainian descent, and actually putting forth the Ukraine first. But let's just listen to the rest of this thing.
to a tank. The teenagers who put aside the normal joy.
Yeah, I see those videos on YouTube every day where people get conscripted against their will, and if they don't agree, they get messed up or killed.
I think this is the meeting point for everybody now, because we have to find common ground, and it's either with Iran or even before Iran. It was obviously the genocide in Palestine. Anybody that's pro-war is pro-government, is pro-statism. Fuck them. Like, as soon as you hear them talking or they're trying to legitimize any war, especially the scrappers out there or the ex-military, the last thing any of us want to do is go to war. Like, violence, like the only people that want violence are people that never got punched in the fucking mouth. And clearly this guy, just look how slick he is, and he'll tell you that maybe one day he fought on the tennis court when he was out there playing that solo rich kid sport when he was younger.
Well, it says the same thing for all the Ukrainians that I hear that's supporting the war. If you're supporting the war, get on the bus.
It's a meat grinder. They lost over 1 million men. All the rich kids that dodged the draft in Ukraine, those videos that you see of those guys being snatched off the streets by military what do you call those? There's like a special team in their military that goes around doing that for draft dodgers and shit. And it's the saddest shit. The last thing I want is my godsons going to war. And here you have these guys trying to like glorify war or make war palpable for a certain demographic of people that like, it's the right thing. War is never the right thing to do. If you have somebody trying to pitch you that right away, you know that it's either he probably really believes what he's saying, but you just should not be paying it no mind, because war benefits only a certain class of people. It's never us. It's never the workers. It's never the middle class.
All right, let's listen to the rest of the
Millions
garbage.
of youth to go to the front lines, to the cold, to the danger, to make the sacrifice. And here we are, 4 years later, the Ukrainian people fight on, and the Canadian people are behind them all the way.
Why don't you go to war? Why don't you go to war, tough guy?
Yeah,
Fucking bitch.
4 years later, people, like, this is how you rephrase it. 4 years later, people are still dying on both sides. Good Christian white people are still dying on both sides of the conflict that was stirred up by the Western interest, financial institution interest, corporate interest, and had nothing to do with people or their will.
It's crazy. It's just crazy that needs
And
to
look,
be said.
he's smiling.
2020. Like, he's so good looking. Look how pressed he is.
Look.
Prime Minister Harper, who looks Vladimir Putin in the eye after the invasion of Crimea and said, "Get out of Ukraine."
It was not an invasion. It was a referendum. People voted according to historical facts. And also, do you think Putin really got scared by Harper looking him in the eye and say, "Get out of Ukraine"?
That's what it was. The whole coup in 2014. Like, look at this.
It was Prime Minister Harper who led Operation Unifier after that fateful invasion. It was Prime Minister Harper who forced the G8 to become the G7 by kicking Putin out.
Oh, and he really
Now we
misses
must
that.
continue to fight on. Conservatives called on the government, which agreed to hand over 40,000 CRV-7 missiles.
So let's give him more tools to kill more people. That's literally what he's proposing.
He's a warmonger. Like, anybody that's for war, fuck them. Fuck them. Especially if you got a public office. Your job should only bring up wonderful ideas that unite people. Like, that was Trump. That was CNN's business model with Trump. Hate, 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 hate. No solution. Just like, hey, let's hate each other. Let's murder each other. Like, these guys don't have one creative fiber in their whole being. Like they can only work on dividing us, and that's what we're seeing with identity politics, tribalism. This is again goes back to what we're talking about initially. Like, how about people learn what a constitution is? What is the history of constitutions? And can we just agree on a social contract and then move forward instead of like not even making good on that? So if they don't respect the social contract that they themselves make with basic rights and freedoms, why should we listen to any of these statutes and regulations that are derived from that constitution and that legislative process, considering they know that natural law is supreme? Anybody in the law society has to agree to this, except in Canada. They'll gladly tell you like, no. Sometimes, we got to do the thinking for you and your rights are not absolute. That's why in the US, they got the Second Amendment to put a gun in your face and like, excuse me? Now, the burden of the proof is on you that I don't have this right. Not like this whole... You need like how many years of university education? Same thing with the fighting racism with more racism or fighting sexism with more
you don't
sexism.
have to go far. Like we taking it, let's say your girlfriend calls the cops and she tells them, I'm scared of him. He's harassing me. He's threatened me. They take her word for it. Mm-hmm. And then you have to prove your innocence. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not necessarily the other way around, but it's already in the law where you have to prove your innocence in Canada. Well, not the other way around.
Yeah, I think that the whole thing about the colonization versus a republic and what we're realizing with lawfare and judicial weaponization is that the process is the punishment. Growing up in the hood, you get a charge. That same kid in the rich neighborhood gets the same charge, but his mom and dad is a judge or a lawyer, knows a judge and lawyer, could afford a judge and lawyer. The story doesn't play out the same. It's 50 times even worse in the US where we see this, that kids that can't even afford bond will stay in prison. And then what happens in there? You get in fights and then you get more charges and you go in there pretty much innocent. The prosecutor will look at you and be like, look, I know you didn't do nothing, but like you take the 3 years I negotiate with you right now, or we go to trial, it'll take 15. And then the kid's like, oh my gosh, I'll take the 3. And then the prosecutor's like, oh, I did a great job. It goes as a win for their record. You know what I mean? Like,
and it's all corporate money anyway. It's a tax money. It's the bonds, all that stuff.
Yeah, without getting down that rabbit hole of how the whole judicial system works and how lawfare operates and how they civilize nations by colonizing them first with the gun, and then they put in their law system, and then they put in their finance system to keep you as a slave. And then these people walk on, it's a micro society within a society. And people, again, can't count on this. Is supposed to be the binary extreme of like the other option and the other choice. And he's not saying any of this. It creeps me out because the liberals and the libtards hate this guy as if like he's a menace. And here I'm telling you, he's not even going enough, like at all. He needs to go harder in the paint, and he's not educating people on what they should be educated on. Instead, he wants to propagate that system.
Right.
Which the Ukrainian military has now put into use fighting against Putin. We supported the financial support and the crippling sanctions that need to go even further.
We supported financial support. What does it do? Like, so speaking of G7 and GDP, Russia, with the most sanctioned country in the world, in the history of the world, GDP is actually growing. And yeah, they have their own economical issues. And now with that whole thing in Iran and, going on, they're probably going to be affected just like the rest of the world. But that's a whole thing.
Yeah, but the last 5 years, they haven't been. It forced them to develop their own parallel trades with other countries, and they're barely affected by the inflation of the last 5 years.
And they also developed their own internal economy as well.
That's what I'm saying. That whole thing about sustainable circular economy, it forced them to do that. And instead of to their detriment, it was to their advantage. And now it's as if they sheltered themselves from the shit show that's only going to continue here in the West with the economic collapse because of our banking system. And the conspiracy theory behind it.
But also, like now with the energy issues with the Middle East, like the how much is the gas now at the gas pump?
It's, I don't know, 190 today, 185.
Ridiculous, right?
And that's only starting because we're not addressing the variables that are causing it. So, and again, they're energy rich, and they're the ones. So the irony that supposedly NATO or EU's against Russia, yet we're sending our money to fund the Ukraine side, and all their energy is bought from Russia. A big portion of it. So they're financing, like when we're saying they finance both sides of the war, that's literally what they're doing. They're doing the virtue signaling thing on the right, on one side, like, oh, let's help the effort in Ukraine to get more missiles. shit, we don't have the energy security. We need to buy from Gazprom. So he's laughing at this point. That's why, like, I feel like him and China are just taking it easy, especially with the conflict with Iran. They're just solidifying these economic ties with these people. And at the end, that's what's valuable is economic ties. It's trade. It's like the founding principles of America was no treaties, no policies with anybody, but you trade with everybody. When you develop interdependency with other people, you'll put up with a lot of shit. You develop bonds on a street level. It's felt right away. You can hate somebody, but if you're making money together, you're making money. You're not going to bite the hand that feeds you. It's the opposite. You're actually going to protect that person. Even if you fucking hate them, it generates money for you. You're going to be like, yeah, I got your back, or I'll tell you if something's coming or whatever, you know?
Exactly. Okay.
Oh, what a bitch. Oh, man, this was horrible. Look at him.
And he's barefoot. Did you see that?
Of course he is, fucking hippie. Oh, God. Can you imagine?
Wahi Guru Chika Khalsa, Wahi Guru Chiki Fateh.
Kuta habis, mother chud. Grunzi kuti.
How does he different than the blackface?
He's exactly, that's the irony. He's supposed to be like a challenge to
By the way,
liberals.
blackface came out earlier wearing in the same video, he came out wearing the orange, dorka, what do they call them? The thing.
The
headgear. The headgear, yeah.
So he's attending.
It is an honor to be here today. Today we celebrate the great values of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, the 10th
What the fuck is he
Guru
saying?
of Sikhism.
Can we celebrate in Canada not the Ukrainian, Slav Ukraine, or the gurus? Can we celebrate Canadians and Canadian values? What is a Canadian value to you?
There is
Andre?
no, what is that? The Habs,
Oh, no.
Putin. Like, I'm a Quebecois. People ask me this all the time, and it's like, we don't have a culture other than like.
I think we do. I think I beg to differ. 30 years ago, when I came, and I didn't live in the best of neighborhoods, but it was a decent neighborhood. LaSalle. Could have left the house wide open. Could have left my bicycle outside. If I left something outside, the neighbors would have maybe rung my doorbell, or it would just stay there. My car would have been open all night. I could call my neighbors or walk over to my neighbors and have a dinner together, etc.
But what you're labeling that, you're saying that's culture. In my opinion, that's socioeconomics. The 80s and 90s was boomtown, so crime was down. People's esteem were high on each other. They loved their neighbors because they weren't struggling at home. And if that's Canadian culture, then it's long gone since then. Like, people should be locking their doors.
It
with
was
the
a
crime rates.
Canadian culture because you had that, the picket fence and the green lawn and all that stuff. That was part of the Canadian culture. That's why what was attracted. What is it now? You go and you see the turban wearing Sikhs and the grandmothers taking a piss and shit in the public transportation in Toronto.
And they have to put signs up now about not, leaving fecal matter behind you. And it's weird that it's come to that. But this is what I'm telling you. If we had real cultural values, ask me the question. I'll be like, well, when I was like a utopist and I was proud to be Canadian, I was like, we have free healthcare. And now that I've been working for these decades, it's like, it's the opposite of free. I work half a day every day. I could technically clock out if I wasn't taxed to the gills. It's the opposite of free. It's mad expensive. And it's really shitty service to the point where people on waiting lines for like life-saving surgeries. I'm not even into allopathy. Again, same thing as CBC. I don't even want to pay into this system. I don't buy into it. And that's what I had in my 20s. I was like, proud to be, everybody's got free education here. And look how great all these professional managerial class did us in during COVID. Again, the first to be able to trample on your rights and try to explain to you intellectually why you don't have the right to this, you don't have the right to that. So was that really a good thing? Was that a good play? Considering we know the control mechanisms of the powers that be is you control education. At least in the US, they're past that. Like, they've had politicians that are fully aware of that and they're critical of that. Here it's the opposite. We still think that these people didn't do no wrong. That's why, like, the vaccine schedule still exists in Canada. I think they just suspended university students in Toronto because they weren't up on their vaccine schedule in 2026. Like, how fucking retarded are these young adults that are in school right now? Can we say like they're the dumbest? They could just point to the US. There's millions of people that are off that boat now. The US changes their vaccine schedule. What does Canada do? They censor the vaccine data because pharma knew
For
that is
15 years. Yeah.
for 15 years, because right away we're supposed to do exactly what the freedom-loving people in the US have done, which is change that vaccine schedule. Instead, they do that so that university age, supposed to be our best and brightest, go get brain damage from injections that they obviously do not need. That's a detriment to their health, especially for that age cohort.
Trust the science.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. What is that science? Like, it emanates from these institutions. That's why it's like that free education came at a price. That
Hold
price
up.
is-
So how do you think, like, people now, I see it all day, every day in my personal life where I can bring up, it's like, you got vaccinated, you were pro-vaccine and you said it was a good thing. How do you feel about all of the records being sealed for 15 years? You think that's okay? That's scientific? That's represents your interest? That's what you were talking about? No answer. No answer. Just silence. Crickets.
That's why I wish I would have asked this question before COVID. What do you feel about informed consent? Do you think informed consent is a thing? Do you know where it comes from? Do you know why we have it? Without getting into Nuremberg Code, because we didn't have no context. Now we have a context to that. And the fact that as it was rolling out, even for me to loved ones, it's like they tried censoring it for 75 years. The little bit of science to give you the informed consent in the US and in Canada, they censored that for 75 years. I'm like, you can't get informed consent even when you demand. You should have a right to demand it before they coerce it out of you. You fucking idiots. You go look at the Nuremberg Code. It's the first stipulation there because the humanity's already been down that road. Again, Canada's sleeping. I'm talking about university graduates are the last people to be like, what's informed consent? How come nobody from the Law Society became famous because they went against they all got sanctioned by their professional designations to shut the fuck up. They got together as an association of professional orders. They paid for legal studies to explain to these half-asses that went to universities that it's a privilege to exercise their profession and they have no right to free speech. And all of them took their fucking hole and then they say shit. They didn't even educate their own kids like, hey, Timmy, it's not cool that they don't want to let you play hockey if you don't get vaccinated. I'm sorry. You're going to have to sit this season out. Hey, listen, Johnny, I know you wanted to go to fucking Thailand because, we're rich and you did a hard semester at school and I promised you that trip, but, to take a vaccine that you don't need, how about you're going to sit this one out? Instead, it's like, I had to travel. I had to go to school. And it's like, what's wrong with these fucking parents? They have degrees in these fields where they're like,
it's not parents, it's single moms.
He fucking started on that shit.
Started on that shit.
With the husband at home, they're a single mom because these men are not relevant. Again, the men should have been the first to be like basic bullying,
Let's go back to Poilievre. Not to get sidetracked.
Is he here?
Yeah. No. That's so we saw with the Ukrainian flag. We saw him bowing down to Sikhs and promoting Sikhs. In that speech, by the way, I cut it because I don't even want to hear it. He was promoting how we need to have a direct channel from whatever they're coming from Khalistan or whatever they're coming from. Or from. Whatever they're coming from, they need a direct flight, and we need to create the blue seal. So all the professionals, meaning like if the nurses and doctors in India, which are probably better nurses and doctors educated in India, I would assume, but they would come here. The problem with that, I see like all those paper mill diploma places here. Diploma mills, it's the same thing there. Right, so like when they come here, how do we know that's an actual diploma? There's no way to check it. With the level of corruption and the level of crime that they have there, and he wants them to come here and take our jobs, your job and my job. Right, it's like that.
And they live the dream. But again, going back to that's what these universities are. Now we have AI. There's always going to be an asshole lawyer that's going to be like, "No, I'm smarter than AI." It's like, it's got 1600 IQ, you arrogant fuck. It's the fact that how good do they feel that we've been graduating more doctors than ever. We've been graduating more lawyers than ever in these universities. And we've never been in a worse state of affairs culturally when it comes to law, as far as people's basic ignorance of it, or the practitioners having the balls to educate their fathers, mothers, kids on apparently what their breadwinning skills are. And then don't even get started with the health. More doctors than ever, more technology than ever. We're dying at a younger age as a species. We're reversing the life expectancy.
Oh, we're not even dying. We're being killed. Like we hit the 100,000 now with the
birth rate.
No, with the 100,000 deaths with the suicide, assisted suicide, with the MAID program.
You know what I mean? Like how I don't. Oh man, don't even get me started.
Well, that's the whole thing. We don't live in a moral society.
How many years of universities do you need to get convinced
to kill somebody?
That suicide is a legitimate way out? Like, again, I'm not a fundamentalist Christian, but that the foundations of that 10 commandments that derived into natural law, how much brainwashing do you need to believe killing somebody is a good thing?
So they take your blood and they take your organs.
Oh yeah, and then let's pretend that there's not an industry pricing list, from abortions to the fetuses to all the organs that are harvested during made. You turn it into a profit center, something that used to be a huge cost to you to have somebody to hold somebody's hands in this allopathic pharma system all the way to the grave, and now you're like, hey, let's make money off this process instead of it costing us an arm and a leg.
Okay, so we watched him doing the Indian thing. Before we
Now we got to balance it out.
yeah, but before we move to the next thing, and I think that's the question that everybody has, like, and it's very current and it's very valid. The video I'm going to show you is from last year. No, not even last year. April 24 of 24. That's 6 months after October 7th event in Israel, and he's wearing the kippah, and he's in front of the congregation, and next to the Jewish flag, next to Israeli flag, not Jewish flag. And he, he's again speaking of great Canadian values. Let's listen to what he has.
War, I'm going to lose my shit.
We need a clear-eyed assessment of where we stand today and how we got here. 6 months and 1 day ago, on October 6th, the Gaza territory was completely controlled by Hamas, with no Israeli presence. Today, we hear protesters in the streets demanding that Israel
But completely controlled by Hamas. Like, this is what they do. Like, when people go out there on the streets with Palestinian flags, they call them Hamas supporters. When they say, controlled by Hamas, they failed to mention Palantir that's been in Israel, in Gaza for many years, pointing out any particular target that Israel should have.
Know that's been their petri dish, their training ground, as far as it's an open air prison. Every in and out, Palantir with AI, and even prior to them, that was the purpose of making an open air prison. They're fully aware of everything that's moving around in that area. So the fact that they're making it sound like,
it's like Escape from New York, Part 3, Escape from Gaza.
get out of Gaza. Well, 6 months and 1 day ago, Israel was not in Gaza. Hamas took over. And if there has been an occupation of Gaza since that time, it's an occupation by the Iranian dictators in Tehran.
Spokesperson for Netanyahu? Is that what it is?
I don't know how they could take themselves seriously, considering the shit show that we saw with, like, would he call it a genocide today, or it's a euphemism for him, like, to like skate around the fact that for any 2-year-old out there presented with the numbers, just the sheer numbers of the civilian death, the children death, to want to actually debate if it's a genocide or not. That's why I get irritated with the fact that they tried calling this a war. There's no military. There's no two separate states at war with each other. You had guys supposedly in paragliders coming in. Like, I could have picked that off. You know what I mean? The fact that they let that happen. Charlie Kirk did the mistake of saying also the stand down order, because he probably knew more than he let on to. But the fact that this guy could stand there, it's like, I just like to show him this video. I'm like, so how about now, Pierre? How about now? How about now? You happy about that?
Yeah, this has got all really fast, right?
Well, it didn't age well on him. Look at him trying to justify
by remote control ever since. Have been supplying it with weapons, logistics, intelligence, and instigating and planning an eventual attack on Israel. On October 6th, what else did we have? A ceasefire. There was a ceasefire. October 6th, Hamas had territorial control and the ceasefire that all the protesters.
But now we know, Netanyahu sponsored Hamas from Qatar and all those other things.
Well, why does he not know that? I knew that before this happened. I knew this 15 fucking years ago. This, the echo chamber of being in Ottawa. He actually believes what he says. He's not malicious, but how could he be so ignorant and be so confidently ignorant, standing there justifying this without what you're talking about as far as like who created Hamas? Where does Hamas come from? It's almost like Al-Qaeda. Well, that translates directly into the database that they use as Mujahideens in the 80s.
I mean, I don't even want to listen to the rest of it. I have like 9 minutes left on this video, and I don't really give a shit. And it's all the same. What I'm trying to say is he's not your friend as a politician. He's not representing democracy or freedom. He's 100% control of position, as he said earlier. And fuck him going on Joe Rogan, and fuck Joe Rogan for being soft with him. Joe Rogan should have did his. That's why I brought it up. Joe Rogan should have been like, oh, I have Pierre Poilievre on my show. No, you have Pierre Poilievre show. You should have fucking shit on him. No, you part of the problem. What were you during the trucker convoy? What were you doing COVID shit? What were you doing the fucking Zionist invasion of fucking Gaza? That's the questions Joe Rogan should ask. Yeah. That's why I'm shitting on Joe Rogan.
Where was he when those two opinions from the Supreme Court saying that it was all unconstitutional? You could just ride that all the way into town, that this government in power right now does unconstitutional acts against the citizenry, and still nothing on that. Is the opposite. I think they're trying to get that opinion reviewed at this point, because they know at some point it's going to get damaging when somebody with actual intellectual balls is going to hold it against them.
Well, the only person with balls, as far as I'm concerned, in Canada is Maxime Bernier, and he's the only one. He does go on Rogan. He does go on all those podcast circuits, including this show, and he doesn't hide it. He knows exactly what a trouble is. He knows exactly what a problem is.
Well, there's fuck you money, but then after that, there's spirituality that says I don't concede on this. And I feel like Maxime Bernier has been around so long, and he recognizes that he might as well be on the record now with what he has to say, because his grandkids, I don't know if he has family or not, but regardless, that's going to age well. He was ahead of his time, and none of these idiots listened to him. They were listening to CTV talking points. They thought they were critical, because I'm jumping from the liberals to Pierre Poilievre because I really like what he said on Joe Rogan. And meanwhile, considering the caliber of people that go on Rogan and all the stuff that we know as far as who funded Hamas, who's really beside Ukraine, who's funding everything.
So what's the final verdict on Pierre Poilievre?
Rat. Just a political rat. Just go. If you're so awesome, go in the private fields. Go make a success out of yourself. Go collaborate with others. Go make a fortune. And then you're not even going to want to come back in the public sphere. But until then, he's just a rat trying to stay on the tit of the taxpayer and just talking points that are poll tested, that are safe for him to discuss, to try to sway my lobotomized boomer generation into potentially voting for him. He's not extreme enough,
Well, I think that's how I'm going to end the show. Pierre, come on the show, and I will ask you those fucking questions. You can bring Mario with you. You can both debate me and Andre here. We'll do 2-on-2. It'll be really good, and you'll try to stand on your 2 feet, and it'll be really safe. We'll create a safe environment. You know.
Right. He's going to flag you to the feds. He's going to get a knock on your door in a couple of days, be like, yo, you guys, what are you saying about down with the system? Like Alex made me say it. I swear to God, you can't see outside of the shot. There's a gun there.
Well, it's been a long show. We've been on it for almost an hour, and it's enough with saying fuck Pierre Poilievre. And I hope people wake up and understand that Canada is the worst when it comes to divide and conquer. And, it's the same people. The left and right in Canada, they're the same people. They don't give a shit about you. They're all sold out. They're rich. They're elitist. They don't care. And by the way, the people, what is people? They refer to us as HR, human resources. At some point, we became a commodity. They took away your soul. Now you are commodity to them. That's how you're being treated by corporations. And Carney is the leader of one of the biggest corporations in the world. And, there's no conflict there for sure. So you are only a commodity to those politicians. Just money, tax payers, So go ahead. Continue to be a tax slave. Continue to live in a bomb camp, continue to live in human feces. It's getting better, right? It's been getting better for the past 10 years. You live in a better society. It's a definition of being psychopathic, doing the same shit over and over again and expecting the same result. Canada is a mental institution, and congratulations on that, Canada. And I hope it changes. I pray it changes. Andre, I love you, and I'll see you in the next one.
I appreciate you, Alex.